zum, ich will fast sagen, ersten Strategiegespräch live aus dem kleinsten Pub der Welt, quasi hier in Pößneck, im Bui Caledonia. Ja, ich freue mich, als Vertreter der Germans for Scottish Independence einen Gast aus Schottland neben mir sitzen zu haben. Partly, hello and welcome.
Thank you very
nice
much.
To have you here. Wir wollen dem Pat ein paar Fragen stellen. Das werden wir auf Deutsch tun. Pat wird auf Englisch antworten und wir werden dann dafür sorgen, dass es ordentlich übersetzt ist. Die erste Frage an dich, Pat, ist: Jüngere Umfragen haben ergeben, dass eine knappe, aber stabile Mehrheit für Unabhängigkeit ist. Wie sind die Zahlen inzwischen einzuschätzen? Recent polls show a narrow but solid majority in favor of independence. How should these figures be assessed?
Well, firstly, thank you very much, Ronnie, for the invite across to Germany. It's been a long, long year, and we have missed our compatriots here. So, very much a big thank you for the invite. On your question, yes, recent polls, I would say since January, the polls have been on an upward incline, and they are holding steady, and it is only a good thing for the independence movement. We have now reversed the 2014 referendum result. Now, saying it narrow, that narrowness has maintained us in the UK against our will. We are now at the stage where we have constant support and growing support for Scottish independence.
Die zweite Frage: Politische Arbeit unter den Bedingungen einer Pandemie. Was können wir aktuell tun, um unsere gemeinsamen Ziele effektiv zu unterstützen? Political work under conditions of a pandemic. What can we currently to do effectively support our common goal?
Well, I don't think the campaign has actually stopped, because although we are within a pandemic, we can continue to engage with the public as far as possible on social media, in our own one and only independent supporting, pro-independent supporting newspaper, The National. We'll give a big shout out for The National. But we are now able to carry out street stalls and so forth, and using pandemic rules, we can engage with the general public, because that's where the voting is going to take place. We need to now come out of our social bubble, but still use it, but continue and build contact with the public in general. So that's where we are. And there's been an example of this in the past. The 1916 Rising for Ireland. They were going through the pandemic of the Spanish flu, and they did not stop their campaign. They, at the end of it, granted it was 6 years later, at the end of it, they gained their independence. Yep. So the pandemic should not be used as a means not to campaign, because as long as we follow the guides and the rules, we are able to maintain a safe distance and still connect with the public.
Yeah. A question between: is it good to have the internet in this pandemic scene, in this lockdown construction? Many artists are going on the internet with live streams, and can you say that is a good thing to have the internet for the campaign in a while of this lockdown and pandemic situation?
It's been our only tool. It's been our only tool, and may I put a shout out there for anyone who is supporting our indie artists to continue to do so, to allow them to contribute to the campaign. But social media, yes, we use that to our utmost. It can be a double-edged sword at times. It can be a double-edged sword. You get the positive and you get the negative. The positive being the rise in support for independence, and the negative being the fear of the unionists that the union is collapsing.
Yeah.
And since January, the polls have never dropped.
Ja.
That's constant, that's solid, and we are on our way to independence.
Great. Okay, die dritte und wahrscheinlich auch wichtigste Frage, denn es gibt ja einige Bewegungen und also eigentlich eine große Bewegung, die neu entstanden ist in der schottischen Unabhängigkeitsbewegung, ist die Alliance for Independence. Pat, ich mache es nochmal auf Deutsch. Alliance for Independence, Bedrohung oder Vorteil? Was ist die Allianz? Wie funktioniert das Wahlsystem und wo liegen die Risiken und Chancen einer taktischen Wahl?
The Alliance for Independence, hashtag Max the Yes, is a strategy and a platform to bring the Yes movement a solid voice in Parliament. The Yes movement since 2014 have maintained the action required to get to this point, because really our government has not openly suggested we move forward for independence or to independence. So it's been down to the Alliance, and I stood in a platform in 2014 and asked for everyone to come all under one umbrella at the time, I called it. And from that hatched the All Under One Banner movement. And we maximised the attendance at rallies. Now, since 2014, there have been many individuals talking about a regional list vote. To explain, the Scottish parliamentary elections are an amended D'Hondt system. We have 73 constituencies throughout the country, and we top the parliament up to 129 with 56 regional list members. The D'Hondt system is in place to allow proportional representation. So from the 73, and because it's amended, if you are successful in the constituencies, which the SNP were in 2016, as opposed to 2011, where they won a few constituency seats, which allowed them to win more regional list seats. They were more successful in 2016, that they actually won 59, I think it was, 59 and 6, 64, 65. 6 is the Greens. That gave a majority, a pro-independence majority ticket. While the SNP went for vote 1 and 2, because there's actually 2 votes. It's not 1 and 2 on one ballot paper. There are actually 2 ballot papers. So everybody voted for the SNP in the constituency, and 6 out of the 8 regions, they won all seats. Now, the formula for D'Hondt is the number of seats won in the constituencies in that region plus 1.
Okay.
Is a divisor of the number of votes that you receive in the regional vote. So, as an example is Central Scotland, where I stood for Solidarity at the time. There were 129,000 votes. Went to the SNP. They did not receive 1 list seat for that 129,000 votes. The last seat allocated, 7 seats in region, the last seat went to a Tory on 14,500 votes, approximately. But because the divisor of 10 was applied to the 129,000 seats, votes, the actual value of those votes cast were 12,900. So at no point, could the SNP pick up a seat in that region. Now the polls now have the SNP at 54, 56%, and that in 2016 they were at 46%.
10% more.
There's 10% increase in support for the SNP in voting intentions. That means that they are likely, with the help of the Yes movement, to gain all 70 to 73 constituency seats, meaning that there is no place for value of votes cast in the region.
Yep.
So the Alliance have created themselves to be a platform for all the smaller parties, standing only in the list, which makes the votes cast for the Alliance for Independence 100% in value.
Okay. And if you say we, and you mean the Alliance for Independence, who is we? Is there a leader? Is there a group of leaders? Who's the base? Who built the base?
Yes. I called a meeting back in February, in December after the 2019 election, and the Tories won an 80-seat majority in Westminster. We were going to be ignored again.
Yep.
And as I said earlier, many people were talking about a list seat. They were talking the talk. I decided to walk the walk. I put together a group. 2 weeks, I was away for a week's holiday, and by the time I come back, we had 1,500 members.
Yep.
The interest was there. So we called a meeting in the 2nd of February 2020, and we managed to get over representation of 64 people attend that meeting from 30 different groups, 30 plus different groups in the Yes movement. And the statement was, we have done the campaign from 2014,
yep.
Now we need a political voice in Parliament.
Yep.
We need a political voice, and using the Alliance for Independence, we can have a majority, possibly removing 24 pro-unionist MPs.
Yep.
And all we ask to commit to the Alliance for Independence is you support the Independence Referendum 2, you support the Scottish Government to deliver IndyRef 2 if required,
yep.
and we support the Scottish Government of the day through the negotiations whilst removing the maximum number of pro-unionist bum seat warmers, as I call them. They're sitting in our Parliament, and in the last 8, 10 years, 13 years, they have not put one policy to our Parliament. They're not able, because they don't have the support of the country.
Yep.
We need them out, because they will be in place to undermine any negotiations that, after a successful yes vote, which it will be,
yep.
the polls are telling us, but it needs the movement to act as one.
Okay.
We are 2 weeks away from, at the latest, from electoral registration, and we will be launching in that same period.
Okay.
You asked me who are the Alliance and who are the leadership of the Alliance. From the meeting that we held in February, we created a steering group, and the objective of that was to go out into the community before lockdown and speak to the yes groups. From that steering group, we elected an interim leader.
Oh, okay.
We have Dave Thompson, who's the former MSP for the Highlands and Islands, and Dave was instrumental in providing the SNP with the 46, the one majority in 2007, because he tasked the returning officer on the actual count. I believe the returning officer was going to allocate 4 seats to Labour, when the actual vote was 2 to Labour and 2 to SNP.
Okay.
Now, had he not challenged the returning officer, Labour would have been in power, and we would not be where we are today. Okay. That man's name will go down in history. We also have a treasurer and an interim until conference in October, hopefully, COVID allowing, and we have a member, a nominating officer. These 3 positions are required to be filled for Electoral Commission purposes.
Also, ihr habt es gehört, und jetzt geht es darum zu diskutieren. Wie seht ihr die ganze Geschichte? Sollen die Germans for Scottish Independence diese Alliance for Independence unterstützen? Können wir das leisten, uns in dieses Boot mit hineinzusetzen und aus Deutschland heraus in unserer Gruppe mit unseren Leuten quasi, mit euch, die Alliance for Independence unterstützen oder nicht. Darüber müssen wir jetzt diskutieren und das soll quasi jetzt oder kann jetzt stattfinden. In den Kommentaren und überhaupt. Schreibt los wie die Wilden. Bis bald.